abandonment in general is something that happened for many of us growing up. Either emotional abandonment or physical abandonment. And from that abandonment, we then say and develop a story, a belief that says, I'm not worthy for just being me. Today, we're going to be talking about that of abandonment and how we may have experienced abandonment growing up, either emotional or physical abandonment, and how that led to later in life us abandoning ourselves at the expense of ourselves to then please or make other people happy or fix people or take the attention away from us. There is a massive energy dynamic of abandonment that I think many people listening to this podcast may have experienced, because it's very common to experience this kind of childhood trauma. And I also want to just share some things in my own shadow work that have made me aware of this emotional abandonment and abandonment in general, and how this is passed down in family lines. So it's not even necessarily your parents' fault. A lot of times it's like, you look at shadow work and it's like, oh, it was the parents' fault. Well, your parents were not trained that way, but your parents went through similar energy dynamics that the same thing happened to them. So they're just playing out similar patterns until someone steps up and changes the pattern. So it helps us have a little bit more compassion. I look at my dad's side of the family, my mom's side of the family, and there's abandonment on both sides where my parents experience abandonment. And no wonder that then that was an energy pattern that subconsciously brought out in certain ways that own level of abandonment. So that's what I want to talk about in this episode. One of the biggest transformations I've had over the last year has been me becoming aware of this abandonment and how I've been abandoning myself. And to be honest, I look back at my old self and I've had to have compassion because I got angry. And I think there's even something online I saw where it had to do with there's different stages of reclaiming your power from abandonment. And one of them is a level of anger. So maybe that's just one of the stages. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But last year, all last year, it was just a deep level of shadow work for me. Shadow work on so many different levels. I was moving out of really detaching from a relationship. And that was bringing up a lot of patterns within me that I was kind of unaware of, where I felt attached to someone that I was trying to fix or trying to get to understand something. And it was it's a common pattern, by the way, with this whole abandonment thing that we're talking about. And middle of last year, I was really letting go of that. And I went through a lot. I actually ended up, through this process of shadow work back in 2020, I gained 20 pounds. And even though most of it was because I was eating a lot, but I think I was eating a lot because I was emotionally dealing with a lot. And that was my way of coping. So I was justifying it with I was living with some friends at a house in Sedona. And they're still great friends to this day with me, but I was living in this house and I was going through shadow work, and I was really going into my own childhood wounds. And I remember I was going to the creek a lot here in Sedona, being by water, feeling myself heal. I realized that I had to heal my relationship with women because my ex-stepmom was so mentally and physically abusive that I had these negative connotations to where I'd want to get close, but at the same time, I've had this wall up, and that wall was something that was up to keep me safe from somebody trying to manipulate me or getting too close and then getting hurt. So it was this big wall up around that energy dynamic. And it was interesting because even after, I was 15 years old, my dad divorced my ex-stepmom, I then attracted women in my life that was the same energy dynamic as my ex-stepmom. So that pattern remained active. And in a way, maybe I felt comfortable with always having to explain myself to the feminine. It wasn't really even the feminine. It was very dominant energy. And I became aware of these patterns. And then I was oh, I need to switch my beliefs about this because I keep attracting the same thing. That was back in 2012. But even then, after that, I was always attracting women that I felt like I could try to fix. Because subconsciously, if I could fix some woman I'm dating, then maybe I would then feel valuable and worthy, and they would never leave me and abandon me. And these patterns that we play out in our life surface from childhood wounding. And there's another book that I've read recently. It's called Getting the Love You Want. And it's for couples that are in relationship. And somebody recommended the book to me. And it talks about this thing called the imago, which I found very fascinating. The imago is a picture in our mind of our ideal mate. And our ideal mate has both the positive and the negative characteristics of our caretakers growing up. And we're not necessarily consciously aware of this, but this is something that we bring into our life. And people's imagos, when it feels really, really good and like you just known someone forever, it means that that person's fitting your imago and that you're probably fitting their imago because your guys' childhood wounding is like enmeshed. It's like, it like links up and it just feels so good. It means you're going to do a lot of work is what that means. And the interesting thing is attraction is actually wound-based. A lot of times the reason you are energetically attracted to certain people, it's because it reminds you of a familiar feeling of replaying the same energy dynamics of when you were a kid, maybe even a baby. And something about it just feels right. It literally feels like you're going back home to the primordial self of the same energy dynamics of when you were a kid. So we are trying to heal from our childhood with the mates and the people that we attract in our life. And in that book I'm talking about, it talks about how you can do that with a partner. You can do it when you're single too. But with a partner, it's like literally giving the other person kind of what they need to heal, and then they're doing that for you, and you're kind of holding space, and you're really listening. And that's a lot of the healing process of this, that if you're in a relationship. But just in general, the abandonment is something that I think many people have experienced in many different ways. So for me, the childhood pain that I went through, I would always had like a challenge for me is like success in business is something I think that I've done well with because I've used it as a form of controlling it. I could control it to get me freedom and to get me what I want. So I work from working a 9-to-5 job to doing what I love. So my business for me is something I feel very connected to because it was my saving grace out of a reality that I didn't really enjoy. Now, the thing is a lot of the things that I learned through owning a business, because I had to control my willpower, I had to control different dynamics. I, for a long time, was not really able to give up control. I was editing my own videos, posting my own content, like doing everything about the business just by myself. And about 8 months into a year into it, then I finally got an editor. Then after that, now I'm finally hiring more and more people that make my life a lot easier because I'm giving up control and I'm trusting, something that was very hard for me to do. And the thing is the way that I treat my business and my passion and my purpose is not the way I can treat my relationships. I cannot control my relationships. You cannot control a natural dynamic such as that. Even business, letting go more and more has actually been beneficial to me. But the idea is that what got you here won't get you there. And I need to stop using these protective mechanisms that I use in my business, in my personal life, because it doesn't work that way. But this last year when I was living and I moved to Sedona with friends in a house and all that, I started justifying. It's like, I want to gain weight and gain muscle. And I started eating way too much and I gained a lot of fat. And I just went through this massive shadow work time where I think my sense of self-esteem went down. I was going to the creek all the time, being in nature, intending to heal my relationship to the feminine and like the mother wound, as they call it. And these were like the different aspects of my own consciousness that I was going through to heal. And I look back at this time now, and it is so clear to me how much I abandoned myself in order to either make people happy or to get my own sense of validation out of different energy dynamics. So, and the mad that I would get at myself was because I would say yes to, I'd look back and I said yes to things I didn't want to do. I agreed to things that I thought weren't fair, but I didn't say anything. I would overextend myself because I felt like I had to. And it's almost like imagine when you're in high school, and let's say or college, and there's a group project you need to do. Are you the person that does your part, or are you the person that does above and beyond, or even do other people's part to get the job done? Are you somebody at your job that people go to get things done that's beyond what you are required or responsible to do? Because sometimes our sense of self-worth might be low when we may overextend ourselves because we're afraid of being abandoned by other people, and we think that in order to gain acceptance, we have to do these things. So, abandonment, in general, is something that happened for many of us growing up. Either emotional abandonment or physical abandonment, and from that abandonment, we then say and develop a story, a belief that says, I'm not worthy for just being me, and we then learn to tune ourselves to everybody else, because if we can tune ourselves to everybody else and make everybody else happy, then we can be happy. We're trying to extract our sense of fulfillment and worthiness from the outside, and we're trying to fix. And a lot of times when we're trying to fix a parent that may have a lot going on, we'll then later on be trying to fix our partner. And the thing is they'll resent us because we're almost implying that they're broken. And it's like once you actually detach from this person or detach from trying to fix them, then they can actually do their own work. And all you got to do is hold space, or not hold space if you're separated. But in general, last year, where I was to where I'm at now is a completely different place. Last year, I would say yes. I love my friends that I did this for. But what I did, I remember I had a photo shoot with a very high-level photographer who has shot for Justin Bieber and all these elite celebrities, and I had this photo shoot with this person. It's a friend of mine. I hope you guys enjoyed that little segment from my podcast called the Aaron Doughty Podcast. If you want to listen to the rest of that episode, click the link below. You'll see it on iTunes and Spotify. You can download episodes. It's so easy to listen to. You can do it while you're working out, while you're driving. It's so convenient. And that's where new episodes go live every Tuesday and Thursday, every single week. I have guests coming on the podcast. I have solo episodes, and we go really deep. This is really a place where I get very personable and I share more about things I'm thinking of. I share my top book insights, and you can check it out and subscribe below, and you will see it there. So iTunes, Spotify, listen to the rest of the episode below as well, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace, much love, and namaste.